Hello to everyone. Welcome to a new series for Ospf Open Short Part First. In this video, we will learn three basic terms. What is Ospf, the process ID, and the router ID. All those three terms are the basic terms that you need to know for the preparation of exam of CCNA and CCNP. Those three terms also help you for the configuration of the Ospf. Welcome to Learning with Us. We will cover those three terms. What is OSPF? OSPF is a link state routing protocol. What does it mean, link state? So OSPF create that database by advertising to its neighbor and then create that shortest path that the packet will travel into the network. It's like a navigation. The router ID. We'll see how the router ID play a role to actually to localize and acknowledge what is the next route, what is the next neighbor, who actually is the next neighbor. The router ID is actually the identity that your device will be identified into the area that actually run the OSPF. The process ID. When you configure OSPF, you need to set the process ID. The process ID does not affect your OSPF, but is a process that recognizes internally within your own device that this is the current process the OSPF is running. Let's see this in action. In this video, I'm using packet tracer for configuration of OSPF. We'll configure only R3 and R4. The rest of the router, they're all running OSPF. And also, we're going to check it with Gen C3 with my two CSR devices. We'll test it with Ansible. We'll see how we can troubleshoot our OSPF. Let's go back to Packet Tracer and see it. So we go to R3, conft router OSPF. That way, you need to specify your process ID. So in this case, in this router, process ID, I can say 1. Process ID doesn't have to be the same for all the routers. You can have process ID 1, process ID 2, process ID 3, process ID 4, 5, 6. They still will be communicating to each other if they're running within the same area. But if they're different areas, they won't communicate because different areas is two different AS, which is autonomous system. So let's look at with the process ID 1. So we'll enter our network. I'm going to open R2 so you can see the agency. So I'll bring my R2. Let's put R3 here. Bring R2. Let's enter the network. So network. So we start with the network address, which is 10.0.2.0 space. Then we'll enter the wildcard mask. The wildcard mask is actually the inverse of the net mask. So it's going to be 0. So basically, we're telling the router, um, not worry, check this, this match, this match. Don't worry for the last part. And then we specify area 0. In this video, I'm not going to explain the area. I'll explain it to the next video. So we're not going to worry about this part. Just make sure all your area are the same into area 0. So I'll press enter and let's see R2, enter. Let's go for our next route, which can be network. There we go. There's the agency is forming between R3 and R2. So I'll close R2, I'll open R5. So let's see the agency on R5, 3, bring R5. Network, 10.0.3.0, the wildcard mask, 255, area 0, enter. Let's see if it's going to form the agency. As we can see, there's an agency formed between R3, R2, R3, R5. I'll close panel. We'll do the same thing with R4, conf T, router OSPF. With the process ID, let's pick another number 2, enter, then enter our network. So we have 10.0.1.0 space 0, 55, area 0, enter. Then we enter second one, network 10.0.4.0 space 0.0.0.55. Oh, we're getting already the agency, area 0, enter. Okay, now we have both our network enter, the first one and the second one. There we go. We're getting agency as well with RCs. So for the last part of this video, so we need to check our router ID. So for each devices, so if I go to R4, so I need to know how R1 is going to recognize R4 or our R6 is going to recognize R4. So let's check our router ID. So show IP OSPF. So for R4, the router ID is 10.0.4.4. So what is the router ID? That's our third term to explain. The router ID, it is an identifier. So it is the unique number that this router will be acknowledged by its neighbor. So if we go to R1, we run show IP OSPF neighbor, and look at us, 10.0.1.4, which is the IP address of R1 interface gigabit 0, I think. Let's see, show IP interface brief. There we go. So the IP address for 10.0.1.4 is running on this interface that connect R1 and R4. So that is the router ID. So for all the device, all the neighbors of R4 will recognize the OSPF with this process ID with the router ID of R4. So let's see this with Ansible. Open my GNC3. Both of my devices, R1 and R2, they've already been configured with OSPF. So I'll run my Ansible. Let's see in action. So what is this command? This command is basically I'm telling the Ansible go to this module, and then in this module check on CSR2, which is this device, and then print the IP OSPF, and there you can literally see the router ID. It is the same thing. So if I log into the router, the show IP OSPF, the same process ID into the device. So for our bonus section, I'll give you those commands that you need when you configure your OSPF and you need to check your OSPF, you can use the show route that will show you the full routing table, as we can see here with Ansible. Show IP route. So on the routing table, O represents the OSPF. You can see the static route is being set. The gateway of last resort also is being set. It's almost the same thing if I check as well with a packet tracer. We can also run our show routes, show IP routes. There we go. So we have O that represent the OSPF. So from R4, all these routes is learning it from OSPF. You can also see it from show IP OSPF database. That will print all the routes that OSPF is learning, is keeping them into this database. As you can see, they are all under area 0, and the process that this router is running, the OSPF process, it's 2, area 0. Thank you very much for following this video. Comment, like, and share. See you next time.